Hello and welcome to another edition of For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. My guests today are from Pets on Wheels. And up in the first segment, it's Jennifer Holt. She is the Director of Operations. First time on the show, so as always, we say welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Tell everybody about Pets on Wheels. What is it?
Pets on Wheels, basically we try to help anybody who would like to adopt a pet and could really benefit from having a pet to do so. So folks that we've typically helped in the past, senior citizens who may be a little socially isolated, veterans who are readjusting or have other struggles that they're dealing with, people with disabilities, basically anybody who could really benefit from having an animal and a companion in their life.
Everybody could benefit from that.
Which is everybody,
Yeah.
but our focus is specifically on folks whose life could really be improved, like drastically.
And you're talking about even like mentally be improved because having a pet in your life can just skyrocket your mood.
Exactly. It's not just physical disabilities, it's emotional, mental, anxiety, depression, PTSD, the whole range of everything. So our focus is on people who would really benefit from having a pet but need a little financial help, or maybe just need a ride to the vet. We have one person was literally the only obstacle to them having a cat or a dog was they didn't have a way to get to the vet because they didn't have their own car. And that's so sad.
Yeah.
That's all that was keeping them back.
And there are actual scientific studies that show that having a pet in your life, it makes you your stress levels drop. You can be a happier person, right?
Absolutely. Your blood pressure goes down, your stress level. Especially if you have a dog, you have to walk it.
Right,
it forces
you're
you to
exercise.
socialize.
You're going to sit on the
meet
couch,
the
or you're going to
neighbors.
walk the dog.
Exactly.
Meet someone of the opposite sex because you got the dog, and that's
It's the only way I know my neighbors because I have a dog.
They say a dog is a chick magnet. I think that's true. Right? Yeah. So there are a lot of good reasons to have a pet, and probably one of the most important reasons is you might be saving the life of a pet, right?
Exactly. So our mission is twofold. It's to help people who would really benefit from having a pet. But then we're also trying to get animals out of rescue shelters who need homes. So we work exclusively with nonprofit rescue shelters such as Our Companions, the Humane Society, Protectors of Animals, PAWS, multiple groups throughout the state. As much as we love to let people go to breeders and pet shops, the goal is animals who really need a home.
Right. You shouldn't really be going to a breeder or a pet shop when there are so many animals in shelters right now.
Exactly. And really good animals, too. I have a dog and a cat, and my dog I got in the pound when I still lived down south. And she's a great companion. She's a lot of fun. And I got my kitten this fall from the Humane Society, and best cat ever. Great personality, fearless, wrestles with my dog. It's like the size of my dog's head.
And how's your dog react to it?
She loves wrestling. She loves chasing. She won't let the cat curl up and sleep next to her. She likes her space.
Okay.
Well, she doesn't even let me all the time. If I wake her up, because they all get tucked into bed,
Right.
If I wake her up in the middle of the night, she growls at me and goes into the living room. She likes her space.
One of the most difficult things for shelters is having elderly dogs or pets in general, animals in general, get adopted. Are you able to help out in that way?
We, because we are a nonprofit and we have limited funds, we will adopt anywhere from, I believe it's 8 months to 8 years.
Well, 8 years is pretty
8 years
up there.
is up there. It is. So we are trying to make that range as
It's so
big as
harder
possible.
for them to get a home.
It is. It really is. We had a dog recently. I think the dog was 7 years old that got adopted this year through us, and it's family with at least one kid, a couple kids actually, and they love it. They're so happy together, and it's great because that dog, would have maybe been there for a while longer, and it's just such a sad way
Sad.
Yeah.
And if you're looking for like a less high energy dog, the older dogs, that's right up your alley. If you
Exactly.
don't want one full of energy, jumping around and wanting to go out on walks all the time,
Yeah.
then maybe the older dog is for you.
Especially for a lot of the senior citizens that we help, they prefer a smaller, 20-pound-ish size dog. So we've placed a lot of, Chihuahua mixes, Terrier mixes. They're very popular. Those are really hard to come by, though. They go very fast when they're in the shelter.
They don't last too long.
They don't, because if you're in an apartment, it's a perfect size dog to have. Easy to pick up, and especially if you're older, you have a disability. To keep a bigger dog under control is hard. But we do bigger dogs. We helped a veteran this year, a young man.
Nice.
He got a pit bull terrier mix.
See, that's another thing. The stigma of pit bulls. If you can get those adopted,
they're wonderful dogs.
It's how they're raised, how you treat them.
It's
It's
just
not
like
the
kids.
breed. Yeah.
It's just like kids. You know, you can ruin them or not.
That drives me crazy. The stigma,
Yeah.
of the preconceived notion of a particular breed. It's just
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into, why that is, but yeah, this dog, they get along great, and as a veteran, as a young man, he didn't want a little foo-foo dog. He wanted
Any
a
dog
guy's
that fits
dog.
in your purse probably isn't the dog for him.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, he wanted a dog that fit his personality and his lifestyle. And when we help people, once they apply and they go through the screening process, there's no time limit on how long they have to search. So if it takes a year to find the right cat or dog, then it takes a year, because we don't want to force somebody to take an animal home that's not going to fit with them.
When you're talking about helping out people with disabilities, you might think right off the bat, well, then you're talking about a service dog, but that's not what you're talking about.
No, there is a difference between companion or support animals and service dogs. So a service dog, typically, CNI dog, other types of, for deaf individuals, they're specifically trained to do a specific task. So the example I usually give is, let's say somebody has anxiety and they have panic attacks. A support animal or a companion animal, which is just a regular animal that you can get from a shelter or whatever, is there to just be your friend and provide emotional support. A service animal is trained to spot signs of like an oncoming panic attack and to alert the person and hopefully help pull them back from that edge. That's just one of obviously many examples. So service animals you can take on planes, into restaurants, etc. Companion animals, you can't do all that, but the important thing for a lot of people to know, for a lot of your viewers, is if you rent and your landlord has a no pet policy.
You have to abide by it, right?
Yeah, no, they have to waive that.
Oh, you're talking about with the service animal, right?
Well,
yeah.
for a companion animal
Right.
as well. So as long
Okay.
as you have some need and you and a provider, feel that there's some sort of need and that your life would benefit, that landlord has to waive that pet policy and any fees.
Do you have to have some kind of physical documentation to show? Or
You don't technically. It's always good to get everything in writing and
Yeah.
have that paper trail. The best source of information for any of that is the Connecticut Center for Fair Housing. They've helped us. They've helped people that we've worked with in the past. And a lot of it is that, landlords aren't necessarily trying to be mean, but they don't understand the laws.
Right, but they just don't want to do it because they think that a pet will cause damage.
Well, that's obviously why policies are put into place, but, they're not familiar with the companion animal part of it. They think, oh, if it's not a CNI dog,
Right.
I don't have to waive it. And most of them, once they're educated, they're fine. They're absolutely happy to make that accommodation.
If a companion animal is allowed in a house, does that mean that it's not only service dogs that would be allowed into a business? Can a companion dog be allowed into, or is that different?
There is a difference.
Okay.
Generally, service animals can pretty much go wherever the person
Right.
goes. Companion animals, at least as far as I understand the laws, you don't necessarily automatically get that right. I'm sure some businesses you've talked to them, et cetera.
If they're pet friendly, then
Exactly. But as far as I know, there's not an automatic. You can take that dog wherever, or cats, or somebody
wanna
took a pig on a plane once. Yeah.
I wouldn't want to frequent a business that wasn't pet friendly anyway, right?
Well, I get it for
I know.
restaurants, things like that.
They have health code laws.
Yeah, and those are obviously the main ones
Right.
who are going to object. But yeah, and it's if some of your customers are allergic, things like that.
Right.
But honestly, most people love animals, and even if they're not pet owners themselves, they're happy to work with you. So.
So when you said there's no time limit on trying to find the right animal for you, how do you find the right animal? How do you determine if there's chemistry between the potential new roommates, the pet and the owner? How do you go about it?
Yeah, well, a key part of the screening process, is we get to know the person, and we talk to them about what they're looking for. Are they a hiker? Are they more stay at home? Is a dog better suited to their activity level or a cat? Because obviously there's a lot of daily care,
Right.
and
If you're a couch potato, you want someone that just wants to lay on the couch
certain
with
breeds
you.
are going to fit you better, versus, a lab. A lab's going to want to go out and play all the time, versus, a basset hound mix,
Right.
which is what I have. So yeah, we definitely try to help educate people, and we provide information on different breeds and grooming needs, and obviously bigger dogs take more food, and all that kind of stuff. So we try to educate people. But after that, we kind of let people go meet the animal at the shelter. We have a list of approved shelters that we work with, and they can go meet them a couple times. Sometimes you have to act quickly because they go very, especially a popular dog will go very quickly.
Yeah.
But the key thing in terms of working with approved shelters is they have to be a nonprofit, and they have to be able to take the animal back if it doesn't work out.
See, that's a good point. So if there isn't chemistry, maybe
yeah.
a little trial period and it just wasn't working out.
Yeah, I mean, the great thing is that's only happened maybe a couple times in the 7 years we've been in existence. So we try not to use that as like,
Right.
plan A.
Right.
But yeah, we want to know that animal is going to have someplace safe to go back to, and and that it's not going to be put down or something if it doesn't find a home.
So this segues me into, because we asked, how you deal with the chemistry issue, just the person's eligibility in general. Who is eligible? Because I know that you're also helping out in a financial way with them too.
Right. We don't currently have a set income limit. We do ask a few general questions in terms of income and your monthly rent or mortgage, just to establish that there's genuine need, and to find out too, is this person able to commit to buying food and things like that, because we can steer people to resources for food and other supplies, but our focus is on paying for the vet care and the adoption fees.
And that can be expensive, can't it?
Yeah, I mean, that part of it can be very expensive, but if you're getting a cat, you're gonna have to buy kitty litter, things like that. Size of dog you get is going to determine how much food you have to buy. So there's no set income limit, but we try to get to know their situation, make sure there's genuine need, and then we also talk to their referring professional, so a doctor, a case manager, social worker, just again, get to know them better and make sure that they're ready to take on that commitment, because it's a big commitment, and we want to make sure the animal is going into a good home as well.
Right, and the worst thing is not treating an animal like you would treat a child. You shouldn't be able to just return it because you don't like how he has hair on your couch or something
Exactly. We try to really get to know people and walk through all those things. You're going to have to walk it a few times a day. You're going to have to empty the litter box every day. Certain breeds are going to be more rambunctious than others and might, tear, get into your furniture or your books or whatever. So we try to really it's process of education and getting to know them.
When you're going through the vetting process of the individual, do you visit their home too to see if it's appropriate?
We do. After they do the application and we talk to their referring professional, we do an in-home visit.
What are you looking for?
Again, it's to get to know them, more in person, because up to that point we haven't met them in person, and just to make sure that it's generally a safe environment. There's not poisonous plants. There's not a lot of cables and wires that the animal could chew on.
Forces the people to clean their house too. They know they have you coming over, right?
If they're like me, yes, it takes a visitor to make it clean. That's for sure. Again, it's just to get to know them, and then that's when we go over in more detailed paperwork and things like that with them as well.
So let's get people to the website so that they can learn more. And if you're in need, if you want a pet, and there might be something holding you back for whatever reason, Pets on Wheels, definitely a place to look into at the very least.
Absolutely. Right? It's petsonwheelsct.org. And don't forget the CT at the end. We have information on there on how we work and a lot of details about the application process and, all the information, the guidelines we have, in terms of the 8 months to 8 years. We'll do, up to 40 pounds generally for especially for a dog. I don't know any 40-pound cats.
They should be on a diet.
That would be a big cat. Stuff like that.
Are we gonna? So in the second segment with Ashley, we're gonna learn a little bit more about the placement process.
Exactly. Yeah. We've been around since 2008, and the woman who started us just wanted to find a way to get more animals into homes with people who could really benefit from having pets. We definitely could use all the volunteers and donations.
Volunteers and donations, very important.
That's huge.
Again, all on the website. Oh, that's good stuff. Jennifer Holtz, the Director of Operations for Pets on Wheels. Thanks for spending a few minutes with us.
Thank you very much for having me.
We'll take a short break and come right back. I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. Stay there. Welcome back to For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. We are chatting with the fine folks from Pets on Wheels. And in this segment, it's Ashley Blanchard. She is the placement team leader. And you're on the board of directors too, right?
Yes.
So you're big time important stuff, right? Well, thank you for being on the show. Your speciality in this, when you say placement team leader, what does that mean exactly?
Well, placement team leader is I manage the volunteers who are basically like the case managers of all of the recipients on our list.
So you're in charge of them making sure that they're going through the proper vetting process with potential adopters, I guess you call them, right?
Right, exactly.
So let's expound a little bit more on what we talked about with Jennifer in the first segment as far as that process goes, how you match people up, who's appropriate, you know, how does it work basically?
So recipients will first start out by filling out an application online. Sometimes they're unable to do so due to a disability or they might not have a computer. So we will walk them through that process. After that, we will make an initial phone call to them, just going over their application, explaining more about what we do and how we can help, and then what at this point in their life has prompted them to seek out our services. We will then speak to a professional reference of theirs, social worker, psychiatrist, physician, anyone who has the medical mental health background who can speak to their character and more about if they are ready and able to take care of a pet at this point in time. After that, we set up an in-home interview with them and just to really start to establish a relationship, because we work with them for a number of years, honestly, as long as they have the animal.
Even long after they've adopted, huh? Wow.
Yes.
Even so you would think that after a period of time, things would get easier and like you would be needed less as far as help, right? Is that normally the case, or?
Sometimes it depends. It's 50-50, I would say. We cover annual medical bills and any emergencies that may come up. So
You're talking about vet bills, right?
yes,
Okay.
exactly. So you know, sometimes accidents happen and we need to be there. And we also just like to talk to them and make sure that everyone's adjusting well and that there are no major issues. So we keep in somewhat frequent contact throughout the year.
And I think it's important, even more so than your typical person who adopts a pet. In the case of these individuals who, you know, for either some kind of physical reason or mental reason, they need that extra help and they need your help, you know, a little bit further into the process, right? Just to make sure everything is going smooth and to continue to help if needed, right?
Exactly. And some of them have transportation barriers, so they'll need us to drive them, you know, to occasional appointments or what have you, and we always make sure that we have staff on hand to meet those needs.
And you know, vet bills are not inexpensive, I would imagine, too. They're just like any medical care for anybody, right?
Right.
Yeah.
They're very expensive.
Now, when someone, their need to have a pet, what is, I know you explained some medical and physical reasons, but does it boil down, is there one real common denominator as far as their need for having a pet?
It's a combination between financial difficulties and also a disability of some kind. So we really focus on people who are just in a real financial strain and who their life would be immeasurably better with an animal in the home because of whatever difficulties, disabilities that they may be facing. We know that research shows that pets help with loss and bereavement. They improve social, emotional, physical, any kind of, you know, behaviors in your state of being, and they really are just a lifesaver for some people.
Absolutely. And I'm going to mention what we talked about in the first segment. It lowers stress levels of people, not just people that you mentioned in need, regular people. It reduces your stress level, keeps you healthier if you have to walk the dog more
Right,
often.
keeps them active and
Yes.
healthy and conscious of those things.
If nothing else, you got a companion to flop down on the couch with you while you're watching TV too. So a lot of good reasons. Now, I want to talk more about this, but I do not want to forget, because you mentioned financial need. Well, Pets on Wheels has financial needs too, and that's why you guys occasionally have fundraisers, and you have probably your biggest one of the year coming up in October, right?
We do. It's October 9th. It's our Pets on Wheels Growler. It's going to be held at It's going to be held at Thomas Hooker Brewery in Hartford, and it's the first time we're doing as large of a fundraiser as this. We're going to have a bunch of different restaurants cater food, and just a lot of different entertainment. There'll be some local celebrities there, so it should be a really great time.
So its main purpose is as a fundraiser, but also these events get the word out, right?
Right.
If anybody expresses interest and maybe they suddenly get a desire to want to adopt, there's nothing that helped out too, right?
Right, right.
And you're always looking for volunteers, right?
We are indeed.
Now, what kind of skills would they need to have?
It can range depending on what they're interested in helping out with. There are volunteers that we need for grant writing, so if you are kind to that. I think the majority of volunteers that we need are placement volunteers. So just having really good interpersonal skills with individuals, having your own car in case you need to drive them somewhere, and a willingness to really build a relationship with someone.
Now, and chemistry is something we also talked about in the first segment. When you're placing, how important is that? Can you see it right away? Is it something that takes place over the course of a little bit of time to know if there's a match between animal and owner?
Well, once we give them the go-ahead to adopt their pets, they can really, I mean, sometimes it takes them 2 weeks, sometimes it takes them 4 months to eventually look through our shelter list and decide, okay, this is what I want. Sometimes they decide online looking at the shelter, or they'll go there a few times and see the animal that they were thinking of adopting, but it's not, the connection isn't quite there. So we really try to help them through that process, and they know that they have a limitless amount of time to do so. There's no rush. So when they're comfortable, when they know that they've found the right cat or dog, that's when it happens.
What happens if it just doesn't work out, even if the pet is moved in? I know it's like you want to try to avoid it if possible. You want to make
Right.
sure that there is a match before that even happens in the first place, obviously.
Right, and so we try to take care of that as much as possible. Sometimes there are incidences where they are just not adjusting well to one another. That's why we have specific qualifications with the shelters that we work with. They need to be a 501c3 nonprofit. They need to be, reputable shelters, so we know that the animals are getting their shots and whatnot. And they also have to have a return policy, basically, because we don't have the facilities to accept dog or cats back depending on what happens. So they need to be able to take them back for whatever reason.
So you wouldn't necessarily work with then municipal shelters, because that's not necessarily I guess it kind of is a nonprofit, but I mean, do you?
No, not at the moment, but we're thinking, it's always something that could happen in the future.
And there are a lot of great organizations that you do work with throughout the state of Connecticut too. So they are well represented, and so are you as far as placement goes. As far as people adopting, like how busy are you? I mean, is there always something to do? Is there always somebody looking for a pet? I almost know before you even answer the question that there are always far too many pets in shelters that need to be, for sure.
There are, and it depends during the, what time it is during the year. Usually the first half will get kind of a big rush, I think, after the holidays and things like that. That tends to be when people notice that need for a companion in their lives.
Because they're kind of down in the doldrums a little bit around that time of year, right?
Exactly, and a lot of our clients frankly don't have anyone near them, and that's why I think this is such a wonderful organization, because we can help provide that. So sometimes we'll get maybe 6 or 7 clients coming in at once, but because of the different time frames of them picking animals at their own, at their leisure and things like that, it evens itself out.
Gotcha. All right, let's take one more quick break and come right back. I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. Stay with us. So I want to give you the opportunity to mention the event, the fundraiser coming up in October one more time, because it's really important, and it's your biggest one of the year, right?
Yes, it is. It's the Pets on Wheels Growler. It is at the Thomas Hickory Brewery in Hartford, Connecticut. It's October 9th.
And website one more time.
PetsOnWheelsCT.org.
All right, Ashley Blanchard, placement team leader, also on the board of directors for Pets on Wheels. We learned a lot today, and we hope that you can get involved in some way, whether it's adoption or maybe volunteer work. So thank you for being here and sharing the info.
Thank you very much, Sean.
That's our show for today. You can see this show and many others on our YouTube sites. Till next time, take care.